What the hell is going on with Watch Dogs? When the original Watch Dogs was announced at the start of this current console generation, the gaming community thought that they were about to be blessed. Ubisoft at the time were a fairly well trusted publisher that built IPs like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry from the ground to the top of game sales lists, since, after all, those were the days before both those franchises went to complete shit. So the hype for Watch Dogs, especially after a beautifully manipulative E3 demo, was high to say the least, with some talks of the series being Ubisoft's grand competitor to GTA. And boy, were they wrong. Watch Dogs 1, of course, was a game up to its neck in controversy, not dissimilarly to AC Unity, Ubisoft's other next-gen title. The game, to put it simply, suffered one of the biggest downgrades of all time, with the amazing visuals of the demo and trailers being toned down to the point that despite the game still looking good and playing well, many people were completely turned off by Ubisoft's complete anti-consumerism. Now, Watch Dogs actually did end up being a fairly great game. Some of the open world was drab and the mechanics weren't quite as great as its Rockstar counterpart, but the decently gritty and heartfelt story, as well as the entire concept of hacking your way around the city, left the player with a pretty great experience. Sure, the game was a disappointment, but it was by no means bad, and it did leave many players optimistic of a decent sequel and maybe even a groundbreaking new IP from Ubisoft to be built. And then Watch Dogs 2 came out, and Ubisoft threw all the potential of the series out the window.
That sec is a bunch of losers.
Possibly due to the critiques of the game's world being drab and dull, Ubisoft completely overcompensated, making Watch Dogs 2 tonally almost unrecognisable in comparison to its predecessor. Clearly written by a board of boomers that thought they knew how young people spoke, Watch Dogs 2 was a complete cringe fest as it introduced, a gang of quirky, rad, wicked hipsters who looked like they were pulled straight from a cyberpunk cosplay convention.
Well, then, please allow me to introduce myself.
With gameplay upgrades nowhere near significant enough to make up for the terribly written story, Watch Dogs 2 left the incredibly young franchise stuck without an identity, a trend for Ubisoft open world franchises. The jump from the gritty journey of Aiden Pierce to the pseudo-vigilantism of Marcus and the gang was jarring to say the least, and it left most thinking that it was time for Ubisoft to abandon their attempt at this new IP. But alas, Ubisoft can never suppress the urge to milk every single franchise they have completely dry. So after about a year of Watch Dogs 3 rumours, we got the announcement for Watch Dogs Legion.
London. Greatest city in the world. Well, used to be.
When I first saw the gameplay trailer for Watch Dogs Legion, my curiosity peaked for a second. And then we got a 5-minute long montage of a granny electrocuting people whilst the Hall of the Mountain King played.
They'll be on to me. Sleep tight.
The initial trailer for the game made it seem almost as if Ubisoft wanted to go back to a more serious story, with the game being set in a beautiful recreation of London, set in a not too distant dystopia where the UK has become a police state. However, this initial gritty tone was abandoned pretty quickly for Ubisoft's usual attempt at humour. The game's main focus seems to be Ubisoft's new play as anyone concept, and to be honest, that system at first glance seems like it could be borderline revolutionary for the industry, and something I've not seen in any AAA game. From what Ubisoft said, every NPC can be recruited to DedSec and then can be played as, somewhat like an improved version of the Brotherhood system from past Assassin's Creed games. Campaign-wise, we've heard very little information, but it does appear like Albion will be the main antagonist as opposed to Bloom, which I do think will be fairly refreshing after the last two games. Despite the actual improvements in gameplay, like I said before, Ubisoft do seem like they're going for their version of comedy in the game, Although the writing doesn't look anywhere near as cringy as Watch Dogs 2, it seems like it could be more than a little dodgy. Need I refer back to the granny clip? As well as this, I do have some doubts about the play as everyone system, which as of right now seems to be the main selling point of the game. It's a great idea, but I feel like in practice, the system's going to feel very procedurally generated, with probably about 15 archetypes of NPCs that really only have surface level differences. In all, I do feel like Legion could be worth picking up and playing, but considering the hype around the first Watch Dogs, it's a major disappointment to see what this series has become as opposed to what it could have been. I have a gut feeling that sales-wise, Legion will have a kind of similarly disappointing release to Watch Dogs 2, especially considering both the past entries have been letdowns in some way. And if Legion does flop, I feel it's safe to say that this franchise is going to be dead in the water. Ubisoft, at one time in the not too distant past, were a company notorious not for their rampant anti-consumerism, not for their overuse of microtransactions, but for their incredible world building, their fantastic crafting of franchises like Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia, Far Cry and the Tom Clancy games. But since the release of the current console generation, they've continuously devolved year after year into a company obsessed with annualization, trying to make as many games using the exact same formula to milk as much money out of each of their successful franchises. When it comes to Watch Dogs, the franchise had the potential to not fall into the cycle of mediocrity, and to be a real game changer for Ubisoft over the past 5 years and going forward into the next console generation. But it's clear now, to me at least, that this potential has been completely wasted. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really genuinely appreciate it if you could hit subscribe and like. Also comment down below what you think of Watch Dogs Legion, because I do read every single comment. Sorry if my voice sounded kind of nasally in this video, I'm ill as fuck. And also I need a haircut, but I don't know why I'm telling you all this, that's just a me problem. Anyway, thanks again for watching, I've been found Scarab, and I'll see you in the next one.
You look better if you didn't wear eyeliner, he said through his teeth. Well, I think you look prettier if you look